Hi, my name is Ginger Broderick, and I'm the host of Ginger New York. Welcome to our show this afternoon. We're live every Friday afternoon at Manhattan Neighborhood Network on West 59th Street in Manhattan. We're also airing all over the world on the World Wide Web. I'd like to say hello to my mom out there. I know she tunes in every week, so I just want to give a shout to her and a lot of my friends and family from all over the world. I have a wonderful guest today. She's been here before, and such a special guest, and rave reviews about her that I wanted to bring her back. She launched my author series about 6 months ago. Her name is Alice Aspen March, and we're coming back today to talk about attention and some bullying issues that we find that both of us are addressing some of them in our work lives. So thank you very much for coming in.
You're very
again,
welcome.
Alice.
It's fun.
Happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
You had a big birthday.
I did.
A couple months ago, so
Yep, I
celebrate
did.
the whole year. I think it's
Absolutely.
great. And it was March 31st, was it?
March 27th.
March 27th. Are you an Aries?
I am.
My director is an astrologist, so that's all the things that he always talks about. Wants to know the birthday and what your astrological sign is. So it's great.
I'm an Aries.
Very good.
True and true, through and through.
Yeah. Well, what brought you to New York? You moved here about 2 years ago. I think that's really brave of you. I moved here when I was 22, and I was pretty scared. And I can't imagine, being an adult and having to kind of like blend into a city like this.
Good question. I came here when I was 19 years old and went to school for 2 months and loved it. And I had a boyfriend back in Michigan. I was a junior at the University of Michigan. And my father came and he said, Alice, would you like to go back to Michigan? And my mother said, don't do that to her, Jerry. That was a coded message. And I went back and got married when I was 19 years old.
Good for you.
And have always wanted to come back, have always felt like I belonged in New York. But, life intervened.
Right.
And, when I get near Lexington and 63rd, where I lived, my whole body gets different. It's like, you're going home. It's probably quite different than it was, if I remember correctly. But I love New York City.
That's
I love
great.
it. Yeah. People were amazed that I would just pick up. I lived in Los Angeles for 45 years. And my sons, I have 3 sons, and none of them were there anymore. And I looked around and I said, why am I still here?
Okay.
So my car was totaled, and I said, okay, universe, that's it.
Come to a city where you don't need a car.
I love that.
Yeah, and we have a mutual friend, and that's how we got to meet, and that's really great.
Yep.
We were celebrating your birthday on Monday.
We were celebrating all of our mutual
That's
birthdays.
right.
Our mutual friend and I met over a hot printer in a hotel. She was moving and I was visiting.
That's great.
Yeah.
Big shout to Carmen Biggs. She's an ABC
Hi,
producer.
Carmen.
Yeah.
Thank
you
you.
very much. And she's a lovely lady, and she's actually a mentor for me to being a producer.
Absolutely.
Here. So
She
she's
is a
really great to.
special gal.
Yeah, but great. So tell us a little bit about the books that you've written. You've written 2 already, and there's a 3rd in the process. So that's really great. Tell me, which one was your first book?
My first book is called Attention. It's the problem, it's the solution, which of course it is. The kind of attention we get is the problem, and the solution is getting the kind of attention that we need and want. It's a workbook. And some people pick it up and say, oh, I'm not going to do that. They're empty pages. And other people work it and say, it's amazing. I was on the Playboy Talk Radio once from Los Angeles, and a man bought a book, and he wrote me a letter, and he said, I hereby validate your work. I worked the workbook, it works, and I got to see how I treat my wife exactly how my father treated my mother.
Interesting.
Very revealing. And I've had people say they just couldn't believe how much information they got about their family and their life and their kids and why they behave the way they do from filling out the questions.
Isn't that interesting? Can
Yeah.
you give an example of a question that you might have in the workbook?
Well, yes. Questions like, how did your siblings get attention? When? How did your mother get attention? And people don't normally think about those things, but our parents are our role models, and what they do affects us forever. Even if we don't realize it, subconsciously we're seeing it. And we very often act like our mothers do in the case of being daughters, and sons act like their fathers. Absolutely, yeah.
Well, I know that after I moved here for 20 years or so, I went back home and I saw so many of my mannerisms in my parents. And I was like, wait a minute, where did that come from? I took it from them, they didn't take it from me.
Quite alarming, isn't it?
That was funny. Yeah, it was good. Interesting. And you know, when I think about people needing attention, it's a negative thing that people act out. And
This
and
is the
they're
problem, Ginger.
doing temper tantrums or something. I mean,
Okay, attention is our primary need. Everybody needs it. It doesn't matter how old you are, or where you live, or what color, or how thin, or how fat, or how rich, or how poor. We need attention. The problem is we don't know what kind we need often, and if we don't know what kinds we need, how can we expect to get it? We don't know how to ask for it. And when we expect to get it and we don't, what happens?
well, I think people get very sad and depressed.
Yes,
They
and
probably turn to-
angry.
Okay.
And violent, and they become bullies. We're going to talk about that later.
Yeah.
The
Interesting.
kind of attention kids get is a direct root cause of bullying.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So you asked about the two books. My other book is called Secrets for Making It Through College and Beyond. It's for college kids entering. It's really for seniors in high school going to college, or college kids entering. And I've been told it's a marvelously informative and comprehensive book, because there are a lot of things that we as parents forget to tell our kids. And so I stood outside and I said, what would I like to have known before I went to college? And that's what people tell me. How come I didn't have this book before I went to college? I've heard that from all over the world. If you have a younger sibling, ask him in for a weekend, or send him a shirt with the college name on it. This is such a powerful thing to do for a brother or sister.
Because I would think that there's a lot of separation between siblings if one, especially if the first one moves off to college.
Right,
and
but
leaves
they
the
could
other
have a
ones
brother who was 2 years younger. And to invite him to college for the weekend, and it makes or breaks a relationship sometimes.
Interesting.
But lots of little things like that. And why you should keep track of some of your papers and archive them so that you can use them later. And of course, always give your keys to another person, so if you lose them, you know where they are.
I'm great for losing keys in the car, locking them in the car anyway.
Yeah.
But I learned a trick my mother once mentioned to me, is that she has 2 or 3 keys in her purse, so
Very
you
smart,
never have a
very
chance to
smart.
lose them after that. Oh,
But
that's smart.
what I was writing was a portable mentor, and it has empty pages so that they can take notes. And my grandson called me up one day and he said, I love the book. Whenever I get overwhelmed, I turn to a page in the book and I feel much calmer. I know what I'm doing. So that's good. And the one that is almost done is called Positive Parenting. And I'm old enough and wise enough, and I've talked about this enough, that I really know I know that new parents are very busy and strung out, and most of the time have never even held a baby, unless they had one in their own family, and they need a leg up.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm doing.
That's great, like a how-to guide
Yeah.
with parenting.
Because they don't have a lot of time to read. They want to know, what do I do now?
Right.
And really parenting, Ginger, is all about attention and energy. Our kids feel our energy. And that's why sometimes they act out, and they do act out. Well, first of all, infants need our attention for 2.5 years. That's what they need. And then they grow up a little bit and they realize who gives them the kind of energy they need, what kind of attention feels good, and they'll gravitate toward those people. But in the beginning, they need it all, and they need certain kinds. If we don't give it to them, we all got problems. So that's what I...
And do you think those problems will surface more when the child is 10
Oh,
or
absolutely.
20, or is that something that's
They
going to happen
surface
throughout
when the child's 50.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I say the kind of attention we get in childhood lives with us forever.
I had a client, I'm a CPA, and I had a client whose mother was killed in World War II, and he was very attaching to people. He didn't move here well.
Right.
He called all the time. He had nothing to say. He was very introverted, but when we had to disengage after a period of years, he did not take it well at all.
No, he's going through the same abandonment issues that he had before.
But that's not my responsibility, is
No,
it?
no, he's got to deal with that.
Right.
But you can always recognize by saying, I bet you have some old feelings that are alive and well in you, and that's why we're having such a hard time disengaging.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's even 3 and 6 months later after the disengagement, after he moved away to another state. He was still a problem.
I talked once at Berkeley. I was the luncheon speaker, and I talked about attention in the workplace. And afterwards, people literally ran up the aisle to talk more because they never heard it like that. And the judge, who was a workers' comp judge, said to me, "Your observations are lethal." And then she said, "Now I know why my 16-year-old said to me last night, 'I don't care if I ever talk to you again.'"
Oh.
His mother wasn't listening.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So I've had enough validation. Well, I was looking for what I had done to contribute to my youngest son's dysfunctional behavior. He was using drugs too much. And I went looking for, I had to. I was scared to death that I could lose him, first of all. But I wanted to do a good job by my kids. And I had an epiphany over the word attention. And then I went looking for that word wherever I could find it. And it's just no place really except attached to ADHD and ADD. That's not what I was looking for. And I found one little anecdote in a book called Love, Medicine, and Miracles by Bernie Siegel. I think this is a good story to tell because a physician, it was Friday afternoon, a physician was spending an extra amount of time with his patient who was due to have surgery on a tumor the following Tuesday. And they were just chatting. There was time. The doctor didn't have his hand on the door to go to the next patient. There was a different energy field in the room. And so the doctor said, "I'll see you on Monday. We're going to do a new x-ray just prior to surgery." And when the patient came in on Monday, they did the x-ray, and the doctor came in and he said, "Well, I don't know what's going on, but your tumor has shrunk, and I don't know if I want to do surgery tomorrow. I don't know what happened." And the patient said, "I do. You spent that much time with me on Friday that I felt safe, I felt honored, I felt taken care of. I wasn't scared anymore."
Interesting.
And attention can heal.
It's interesting because it almost sounds like stress too that created this health issue for him.
Could be, sure.
And the attention calmed him down.
When a person feels safe with another person, their whole body relaxes. And again, it's the energy that's between each other. The energy that's between us right now, and that's attention. Attention is energy. It's good. That's why I'm here again.
Yes, you're gonna be back a lot, Alex. So
I want people to know really what we need in our lives.
Yeah.
And what concerns me so much right now is everybody's on their cell phone and they're texting. They're not having this kind of relationship.
Right.
They're texting while they're walking across the street and they're being run over. This has got to stop.
Right. And I understand too, a lot of people when they're angry, they type it out and send it off to somebody as opposed to having a confrontation on things.
Right.
And I visit different offices as an accountant, and I look around, and one person said, "Oh, I never need attention. I don't need it at all." But the owner, when she needs attention, she sneezes. Ha-choo! She's for the whole office to hear and say.
I'd like to talk to the lady who doesn't need any attention. That's just not true. It's just not true.
Well, it sounded to me as if she might be jealous that someone was reaching out to get attention that she wanted.
Well, when you're not getting the kind of attention you need, you will act out somehow. That's just the way the body works.
How do people act out? You mentioned that you had a family, your son that turned to drugs. Is this an alcohol or maybe smoking?
Well, he was drinking, but all kids that age drink beer. But I was really concerned about the drugs, pot smoking, and I didn't know how much he was doing. 1/3 of his class in California in high school did not graduate.
Oh,
1/3.
my.
That's frightening.
Yeah.
But, well, adolescents, teenagers will act out anyway because they're caught. They're leaving the family and they're not where they need to be yet. Mm-hmm. But they need to feel that we support them. And I dropped the ball. I had 2 older kids, and I really dropped the ball with Jonathan. I was with him a lot. I paid attention to him a lot. But when the older kids were home, they were really my priority, and he felt it.
Interesting.
And of course, I aimed him at the television set. Mm-hmm. And that's why he became first a television addict, which nobody was talking about then. So I ended up running a nonprofit organization teaching the impact of television viewing on children and families. Kept Mr. Rogers on the air. Best thing that ever happened to kids. I got to mention, there's this wonderful DVD out now called Mr. Rogers and Me that all of us should see. It's fantastic. He was a force. And as I said, I was scared that Jonathan would go off and do something I really didn't want for him. And so he was acting out. That's what he was doing.
When people need attention, a lot of times you think that they turn to like a boyfriend and girlfriend and then attach and to get married at a young age.
Yes.
I mentioned that you got married as a teenager, and I grew up from a small town where most people did get married between 18 and 21. So it wasn't, to me, a need for attention. It was just like a process of life. But there's so much I was reading some articles this week where people shouldn't get married before the age of 25 because they're just doomed to get a divorce anyway.
I agree. We don't even know who we are until, and maybe we don't know then. But if our parents aren't giving us the kind of attention when we're 19, like accepting the fact that we're growing up, and that maybe we want to discuss things with them with no judgment, and with real, unwithheld support, then we're going to find somebody that we think will get it from them. But if we don't know how to ask for attention, Ginger, we'll never get it.
Well, most parents are busy, though, too. Especially now in our economic situation. People have lost jobs. People are working for half of what they used to be making if they do have a job. I mean, a lot of role reversals that people can't sit around the table and really spend a lot of time with their kids.
Well, sitting around the table, that's a wonderful opener, segue. Do you know there's research about families that eat dinner together, how much healthier they are and how much healthier their kids are? That's a precious time. Even if you only do it once a week or twice a week, it's got to be planned out. And around the table, you sit and you listen to people. But it would be nice if kids were given permission to say, Dad, I really need your attention tonight. I'd like to talk to you about something. And the dad says, let's go in a corner. I'll give it to you. Your time. This is your time. That's what people need to hear.
Yeah.
I've had relationships change between daughters and older mothers because a daughter called up and said, Mom, I'm taking you out Saturday afternoon. This is your time. What do you want to do with it? The mother couldn't believe it. And the whole relationship changed. That's how much we need. We need to hear attention talked about and identified and learned about. I mean, it is not a bad thing. It is a bad thing when we don't get it, and we have to. We need it so badly, we will act out for it if we don't get it.
Well, that's what I see in adults is that they have a need for drama and attention, and they will work the room to find the person that they can pull in for this.
That is correct. And they do it by eating too much, and by drinking too much, and by gambling too much.
Oh, interesting.
And by any behavior that isn't really healthy for them personally is a way to attract attention. And our bodies need it so badly, as I said, that we will do anything to get it. If we aren't getting what we need, we will do something naughty to get some. And I've heard mothers on the street say, okay, I'll give you something to get, I'll give you something if you think you need my attention. That is so wrong.
Oh, yeah.
It is so wrong. Instead of recognizing, attention, there's no end to attention, and attention doesn't have to cost anything. And it can take a minute. For instance, I was sitting next to 3 women and a little boy. grandmother, aunt, and mother. And they were so busy in their conversation, and they had asked the grandson and the son and the nephew out for lunch. But they didn't even look at him. So he's climbing under the table. He's doing everything to attract them. And he came by my table. He had a little airplane pin on his shoulder. And I said, when he came by, I said, I really like that airplane pin on your shoulder. And he looked at me. And then the three women at the table noticed that a perfect stranger was talking to him. And they got up and left. But he came by my table and he said, goodbye.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Just like that.
Do you think men need more attention than women?
I think they need the same, different. Yes, they do. You know, adultery, having an affair is all about attention. You know, the Scarlet Letter about the woman who went down the street to the father and had to wear A for adultery. She didn't get what she needed at home.
Yeah.
And when people have affairs, they need to really start talking about why and what to do about it rather than leaving abruptly, because two of the people caused the affair. It wasn't a one-sided deal. If you're not getting the attention you need from your husband, you got to tell him.
Right.
You know?
But what happens if you have two different work cycles? I mean, some people can work during the day and some people can work at night.
Well, there's got to be time when they're together. There has to be some time. Even if a wife says, you know, I miss you. I miss talking to you. I need that time. 5 minutes.
See, I work with someone, I told him, I really give you a lot of credit because you have to run a business. You run, you know, a second business. You're married with 3 children. I mean, and all the different responsibilities to that, and you have to manage all these employees. And I hear him fighting with his wife. They're hanging up the phone on each other, and she wants to take a vacation without him. And,
well, no wonder. He's not there anyway.
He's not there.
But the very fact that you started this conversation with him and perhaps had enough, he felt your compassion that maybe he's so out of control, maybe he'll start thinking about his lifestyle. How can you keep that up?
Yeah, that's my concern. I mean, I've worked with him for about 5 years now, and I can see that he's starting to get tired, and all I can think of is another 10 years. And
how about the 3 kids, and how about the wife?
Right. I think she has to be very patient, but, you know, she also has a nice lifestyle, too, which, you know, all goes to with the corporate wife.
Maybe they have to figure that out. Maybe something's going because of the nice lifestyle.
Right.
And one way to have a decent relationship is not to hang the phone up.
Oh, my, I hear it a lot.
But to say, you know, I feel your pain, or can we, I would like to continue this conversation when I get home. Let's make some time for it. I can feel how angry you are, but I can't really talk on the phone right now.
Right.
Can you get that?
Right.
But people have to express their feelings to their loved ones. That's part of knowing what kind of attention you need and telling the other person, you know, I'm feeling really left out now.
You know, let's talk a little bit about bullying.
Okay.
When you mentioned it a little bit earlier, and we have about 5 minutes left to the show. So I wanted to, you said that when people don't get the attention that they need, then they turn it around and they become a bully.
Yes, they
can.
To
pick on you so that
that they will get attention in another direction. When you feel bad about yourself, you're gonna, this is a general statement, of course, but if you feel that bad, you want other people to feel bad, and you're gonna make them feel bad.
Okay.
And if you're picked on at home, if your father bullies you, and there's all kinds of different ways of being bullied, physically, emotionally,
and
spiritually even, but you're being shamed, you're being demeaned, you're being treated less than you want to be treated. If this happens at home, chances are that's going to show up somewhere else. And when you talk to these kids who are picked up for bullying and have really hurt somebody, this is when you do some background checking. This is where it comes from. They see it at home and they feel it, so they just go out and repeat it. I was reading an article about this diver, this Olympic diver, who got 100% on his dives in one of the recent Olympics. He was bullied by everybody because he was very feminine. He was bullied by his father at home. He was bullied by his neighbors. He was just generally bullied. And he had to learn to survive. And I On his second to last dive, he hit his head on the diving board and had to immediately going to have 2 or 3 stitches. And his coach said, "Do you really want to go on?" He said, "This is what I worked for all my life. I'm going on." And he had 100%. But he realized that surviving the bullying gave him the core to go on, because he had to forgive himself for being the victim, and then he had to forgive the other people for victimizing him. But that's a strong guy. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of people, it lasts forever. Mm-hmm. Bullying lasts forever because the shame lasts forever. And if they don't get some therapy, or they don't get some help, or they don't get some loved ones who are coming in and defending them, they'll carry that forever. And
the person bullying will carry that forever.
The person being bullied.
Oh, interesting.
And, yes.
It's almost like they attract it.
Yes, and the person also bullying will show up in the corporate world and be a bully.
Interesting.
Absolutely. We know bullies in the corporate world. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was attended Maria Broderick
Yes.
from CNBC when she was on. I attended a lecture of hers recently, and she was the first woman on the stock exchange. Right. And she was explaining about the bullying she experienced.
Oh, absolutely. Terrible.
It took 10 years before some of the guys, said, "Hey, you've done a good job."
Yeah. Hey, you've done a good job. Or, can I take you out for coffee? Yeah. It's the whole treatment. And of course, that's what attention is. Mm-hmm. It's the attention that these people are giving out that is the bullying that people can't recover from. There are only 2 kinds of attention, Ginger, good and bad. Mm-hmm. And bullying is the worst. It's a big issue today in the corporate world, in schools. Mm-hmm. You could even be bullied in a hospital, by the treatment that you get.
That's interesting.
So there's work being done on this for really the first time, because people are recognizing.
Well, there's an idea for another book after you get this one done.
There is an idea for another book.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really great. Well, we're getting about another minute for airtime, so I was just wondering if you have any upcoming lectures.
You asked me about my trip.
Yes.
Oh, I have recently been asked to come over to investigate working in a preschool, which I'm very excited about. And my website is working, theattentionfactor.com, so I'm getting some more requests for things. But I went to Brussels this past November, and I gave 5 speeches in 3 days, and the most heartfelt testimonial I got.
You know what? We're going to be out of airtime.
Well, it was a good one.
Yes, and we're going to do a little after-show taping, so we're going to get their full story in. But we're going to have you come back too.
Oh, love to.
That's wonderful.
You're a great hostess.
Yeah. I really look forward to it. And thank you so much for coming in today, because it's always great to have someone who's been around and.
I've been around, lady.
Yeah, and to really give some encouragement and things like that for us.
Well, that's why I do the work I do.
And I watch, the person's need for attention, or how important it is for me to listen.
You can feel it. Mm-hmm. Actually feel it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's really great.
It's alive and well.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. I'm here with my favorite author, Alice Aspen March, and we're talking about the attention factor and all the goods and the bads and what we need to get the attention. So tune in again. You're always going to learn something here on Ginger New York. We're live every Friday afternoon. Thank you very much for coming in, and we'll see you soon. Thank you. Thanks so much.